Hello everybody, welcome to the Football Daily Weekly. Good to see you. We've got Laurence and Dave with us talking about the 5 things we learned from the weekend. We're going to be talking about Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester United, Arjen, Robben and Everton. First up though, Chelsea. And Jose Mourinho was on Sky Sports, Dave. He wasn't best pleased with Ashley Barnes' criminal tackle, as he called it, which resulted in Matic reacting and then being sent off. Is Mourinho justified for being particularly annoyed with that and then being quite aggrieved that his players sent off for doing something which is not particularly harmful? It would be considered violent conduct, so that's why it's a red card. Mm-hmm. But do you think Mourinho's justified for going ape?
I think he often goes over the top, like Dave says, to cover up for deficiencies that are going on. They did draw 1-1. Let's not forget that. Mm-hmm. He really plays the media very well. Mm. He plays them in the sense that, you know, when he wants to talk to them, then he'll talk to them. And because of the way the media is structured, they'll lap it up. Mm. And I think for that reason, we need to be careful about how we treat managers. Maybe there's a bit too much importance on what Mourinho is saying here and not enough analysis. And I guess we're just playing into his hands.
Mourinho's creating that siege mentality, and it's really coming to show now that it is Chelsea versus the world at the moment. But then, obviously, the performance, they drew 1-1 in the game. So it's creating a mentality, but is it getting the results?
Mourinho was saying on Goals on Sunday on Sky Sports that all these decisions, and then he listed examples of going against Chelsea. And then apparently he could only find one example of a decision that went for him. I mean, come on, that's surely detracting from the fact that their form is a little bit, it's slipping. In their last 8 games, Chelsea have only won 3 games. They've conceded 20 goals in their last 12 games. I mean, they're still 5 points clear at the top of the league, we can't forget, but their form isn't as good as it was.
I think it was Fabregas has been unfit, he's been injured, he's only just coming back into the side against PSG, he was pretty much anonymous, but now he's just coming back in, he's just picking his feet up. He completed the second most passes on the pitch. Before, at the start of the campaign, when Chelsea were really rocking, he was dominating. You know, bringing another creative player, opens up space. If someone's got to come and shut Fabregas down, opens up space for Oscar, Cuadrado, and that type of thing really helps teams move forward. I think that could be it. As soon as Fabregas is put back into the side, as soon as he starts performing again, I think that's when Chelsea will start rocking again. I think it's just a little bit of form now that they've got to go through this dodgy patch. Then they'll be absolutely fine.
Do you think Chelsea win the League Cup final against Spurs?
No.
Do you think Spurs will win?
Spurs are going to win. They're going to pull out of the bag.
Laurence, will Super Harry Kane thwart Chelsea?
I think Mourinho will play a very different kind of game against them in the final and really try and frustrate them. Mm-hmm. And I think it'll be close to 1-0.
To?
Chelsea.
Okay, there we are. I think Spurs. Liverpool continue their march to the top 4. They're doing very well now, Laurence. They've turned their fortunes around. Obviously, difficult start to the season and whatnot. They wasn't that long ago when they were about 10 points behind Manchester United. Now they're 2. They haven't lost since the 14th of December.
When they played Manchester United.
Absolutely.
They were not humiliated, but it was a pretty awkward game for Brendan Rodgers, I think.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, and now you see a difference in formation. The back 3 really seems to be working, which fits Brendan Rodgers' philosophy.
Chan's made a difference coming in.
Chan's made a real difference. He allows them to pass it around at the back. I think the idea that Sacco is clumsy sometimes makes people nervous, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's always true.
Yeah.
And then I think also at times, though, Liverpool have been lucky that they have not been scored against. I think the same against Southampton on the weekend. As much as they say it's a good away performance, Southampton made enough chances and should have put some chances away to the point where, Liverpool could have been rocking. But they weren't because of excellent goals from 2 of the 5 players who are under 21.
Definitely. Dave, what do you think Liverpool...
I think the switch of formations really allowed Coutinho, especially with the space, and then...
And also they've tied him down to a new contract, which perhaps gives him a...
Yeah, he's sort of hitting...
feels a bit more settled.
He was always very inconsistent at Inter Milan, at Espanyol, and sort of now he's come to Liverpool. He was inconsistent at the start, and now he's really sort of finding his feet. The goal was brilliant. I think with Sterling as well, he scored 6 goals in the Premier League this season. But I've got a big but here.
Here we go.
They haven't come up against any sides of real quality since the United game. So they played Arsenal, the game after, you could say that, but Arsenal weren't really hitting form there. And then they've got Tottenham, they played Tottenham. In those games they've conceded, so 3 against United, 2 against Arsenal and 2 against Spurs. So they've conceded 7 goals in those games. I think when Liverpool come up against top sides, the space in behind the wing-backs is exploited. And we saw against Southampton in the early part of the game with Emre Can getting pulled out to the wing, the ball over the top, pulled out to the wing, nearly conceded a penalty. It was very, very clumsy. And I think that Liverpool have found a formation to beat weaker sides. But it's when they come up against, the Chelseas of the world, the Man Cities of the world, that we'll really see whether this system works or doesn't work.
What would you say then about the League Cup?
I don't think it was exposed because Chelsea had a lot of games around that time, and we saw Chelsea's dip of form. If Chelsea were really on their start of the season form, really flying, I think they would have exposed it a little bit more. I think the players like Markovic and Ibe, who do well at wing-back playing against weaker sides, as soon as they would come up against a stronger side defensively, they're going to get found out.
Bayern Munich are having a fabulous season, and so is Arjen Robben. He scored a lot of goals so far. I believe he's the top scorer in the Bundesliga, Laurence.
16.
In how many
16
games?
goals. 18.
18.
Thanks.
That's top work, isn't it, Dave?
Yes,
the man's not an out-and-out striker, but he's an out-and-out goal scorer this season for Bayern Munich.
It's really interesting. A lot of, if you know, the compilation reel of Arjen Robben, it'll be that move, right channel, inside, finish it off with his
curled in the
Beautiful.
opposite corner. You know what he's going to do every time, but you can't stop him.
It's crazy. So since Pep took over at Bayern Munich, Robben scored 27 goals.
Yeah.
No player scored more for Bayern Munich in that period. So he is a key component, a key cog in Pep's side. And I think he does really he can change the pace of the game. We saw for the Netherlands at the World Cup that he was the player that they get the ball to, then he'd make things happen. And sometimes Bayern Munich do struggle, too much of the ball. But when they do consistently get it to Robben, he will do something for you.
He's 31, is Arjen
Yeah.
Robben. Has to be the quickest 31-year-old in the world.
Yeah.
Would you say?
That's quite a title, isn't it?
Is indeed.
You are the quickest 31-year-old in the world. He's quick in not only in terms of his age, but just in terms of football in general. Some people saying he's underappreciated.
Potentially, yeah. If you look at the Squawka performance score over 2014, you had Messi came first, Ronaldo came second, and then Robben came third. So arguably, from our performance score, he should have come third in the Ballon d'Or.
But
if Germany had not won the World Cup, then he probably would have been in the Ballon d'Or.
But I think you've answered the question there. This is the trouble, isn't it, with this day and age, and Messi and Ronaldo. They have such unbelievable statistics that anybody who is not up there is considered, not quite the best.
Yeah.
And Arjen Robben plays a similar position to those guys, has a sort of similar impact, you could argue. And so therefore, people just think of Messi and Ronaldo, whereas Robben is absolutely phenomenal. He was obviously great at Chelsea, Robben. He got an injury, which hampered him a little bit. But since then, he's gone on, played for Real Madrid, did okay. But at Bayern, he's been sensational.
He's found a way of making the most of his skills. At Chelsea, maybe he wasn't utilised to his best, and maybe they played some of his less positive.
To be more industrious.
Now, maybe Pep's managed to find the way to get the best out of him because mentally he's also getting the best out of him. And he knows how to cultivate that because of where he was at Barcelona, and he knows how to cultivate that sort of group and bring out the best from those players in the sort of forward of the front midfield V.
I think you've also got to look at him looking after his body. There's reports that at Bayern Munich he really cares about. He does his yoga, does all sorts of things. So he's becoming the Ryan Giggs of Bayern Munich. So he could be playing for another 5 or 6, 7 years, and he could get better and better. He scored 16 goals this year. Could next season 20 goals, and the season after 30 goals. You could see that happening with Robben.
Everton continue to struggle. Martinez is not getting the best out of his side this season. Had a good season last season, but not this time round, Laurence.
It's like a constant time warp, isn't it? Every week we seem to say the same thing about Everton.
They've dropped 17 points from winning positions in the Premier League this season, more than any other side. Craziness.
Yeah, I mean, they're scraping a draw at home to the bottom of the league side. It's worrying times for Everton. What's going wrong, Dave? Tell us.
Defensively, it's all wrong. You mentioned Tim Howard, who flapped at both crosses that then goals were the result of that.
Yeah.
You look at Jagielka's position for the first goal. He's in absolutely no man's land. He's not on the front post. He's not on the back post. He's not dealing with the ball. It's interesting. I think Jagielka, his performance has really gone from the World Cup, and he's not got it back. With his partnership with Distan before John Stones came back from injury was awful. I think the wingers aren't covering the fullbacks enough. You're having James McCarthy's having to shuttle out there. He's creating space in the middle. It's just the system is broken at the moment. It's a very broken system.
But is that Martinez's fault, or is that the individuals? Because you've said that there's a lot of errors, as Laurence said. But under Moyes, pretty much the same back line was very solid.
Back line with one guy sitting just in front of them as well.
Okay.
It was like 4-1-4-1, almost always under Moyes.
Yeah, you'd say it was a structured or a 4-4-1-1 in a way where you do have that defensive four in front, which Martinez, he likes his attacking players to express themselves. So I think that a 4-3-3 is going to suit Martinez and suit them a lot better, or even moving towards a 3-4-3 similar to Liverpool. That's going to suit them beating the smaller teams like Leicester that Everton have struggled with this season, or they've pretty much struggled everywhere. But that could really help them change the system. Martinez did it brilliantly at Wigan. Halfway through the season when they were bottom, change the system and they stayed up. He needs to do that again. That sort of effect.
Yeah, I mean, not just defensively, but going forward they've struggled as well. Lukaku, cost a king's ransom, especially for a club like Everton. He's not scoring.
Yeah, they spent all the money on him, and then maybe the formation isn't right.
But he's not scoring so much in the Premier League, should I say?
Yeah, but they've spent all that money on him, and now he's... maybe they're not playing to his strengths. I know it sounds very cliche when it comes to Everton, But
He did say that as well, didn't he?
I think a lot of the players have apparently expressed that. I mean, from what you hear behind the scenes, from what you read in the Liverpool Echo, there are people who want to change it within the camp and don't feel they're having their strengths played towards. But then you wonder, how Martinez can harness that. It's a difficult job for him because, I mean, at Wigan, he could always get away with it because it was Wigan. But here, what's he supposed to do at Everton?
But from last season, though, when they were playing quite well, some say that the defensive, the solidness at the back was left over from, say, David Moyes, and now Martinez is trying to put his stamp on it, and it's not quite working. Do you think he'll get it right?
I think he will. He needs to reintroduce Ross Barkley. Obviously, Ross Barkley's been playing a lot, but Ross Barkley in a 4-3-3, that's where I think Ross Barkley's best.
He did
playing
start,
as one of the centre mids, but he played behind the striker. It was more of a 4-2-3-1.
Yeah.
And I think a 4-3-3 is where Everton have got to go. So Ross Barkley this season averaged about 30 passes per game, which is pretty decent. For players under 23 in the Premier League, only Bentaleb's got a better record than they're completing more passes. So they need Barkley on the ball, in the side, and Barkley needs to get back to his form of last season. The goal he scored against Man City needs to be back up there.
Yeah, absolutely. Manchester United lost again. Yes, that's right. Swansea turning the knife as they stick it into Louis van Gaal's side for the second time this season. A historic double for the Swans. Is Louis van Gaal cracking up, Dave?
No, but he's playing this dodgy formation week in, week out. This diamond is absolute rubbish. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Whenever we switch to a flat four in midfield, we look so much better. Rooney looks more confident. The wingers look more confident. Daley Blind looks more confident. The players are used to playing with two central midfielders. And you see Blind 9 interceptions against Swansea at the weekend. Where these interceptions are happening are wide areas. So he's holding the diamond and he's getting pulled out wide because there's nothing in midfield to stop us doing that. So it seems like it's just not there. The system is completely wrong. And as soon as we change that, and as soon as we start playing with a flat four and getting rid of the likes of Fellaini playing attacking midfield, will be the better.
I mean, it could work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just sometimes think, anything could work. But that's the point, is there is a lot of talent in there and he has to pack all that in. You do feel a bit like he just underutilises them by playing almost everyone out of position. But there's something wrong at Manchester United, and it's like putting your finger on it, where you're just sort of thinking, well, there's so many good players in that side. Why is not one of them playing well?
Do you think it is the formation?
It's Ed Woodward. That's the problem. His player recruitment in the last 2 seasons has been absolutely awful. The planning isn't there. Where the side is moving on isn't there. There's no structure of how we want to play football. Do we want to play with a 4-3-3? We need some decisions to be made at the top, and those decisions need to be mirrored throughout the whole club.
Sure, but you think a flat four would go some way but who would you play in that flat four?
This is the thing, a flat four or three in midfield, it's just, at the moment with this diamond, there's too much space there.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to do. We need to get players that will be able to dictate the ball in better areas, and just the tempo it hasn't been there for probably 2 seasons, and that needs to come back.
Sure.
They started Herrera and Blind.
But they play it it's a different way of playing. I think that is kind of what's breaking up at the moment, is the shape. They don't get the shape. I don't think the players get the shape.
Do you at all, I know I keep saying this, I see Rooney as a big problem in formation still. And every week Van Gaal says, I found my best formation, etc., etc. I see Rooney as actually quite a problematic player. I see him as problematic off the field and problematic on it. They put all their eggs in the Rooney basket, wages-wise, and on the pitch, they're trying to accommodate him, and there are too many times where you think he'll do something mercurial in a minute, and he doesn't do that.
Do you think he should still be played right up front?
I'm questioning whether Wayne Rooney brings the same value to a Manchester United. I know it's the same as saying, does Ronaldo make Madrid better? But take them out, and you might utilise all the assets better than the one spoon when all you need is a knife.
Dave, do you think Manchester United will finish in the top 4?
I think they will, because their rivals have more games. To put it simple, Liverpool are still in the Europa League, Tottenham are in the Europa League, Man United don't have any Europe at the moment, so they're playing one game every week. I think that's why, they'll just, at the end of the day, the fitness will be better at United come the end of the season.
Laurence,
what happened this week?
What happened this week?
Well, they lost.
Yeah.
And their rivals just played in their rivals both went away and at least got a result.
All right then, Laurence, if they don't make the top 4, what will happen to Louis van Gaal? Will he stay? Will he go? Will he be sacked?
Ask Ed Woodward. Iwa Wuwa. Ask him. See what happens.
What do you think?
I think he'll stay because they don't have a better option. Manchester United are out of options right now. They didn't think of a contingency plan for when Sir Alex left.
Well, they did, but it wasn't a very good one.
Yeah. I'd say it's a little bit ironic for Manchester United. They have all these players and they can't seem to find them in a good formation.
Thanks very much, Dave and Laurence. It's been a pleasure as always. Let us know in the comments below what you learnt from the weekend's action. Join us tomorrow for some Champions League previews.